What's going on, everybody? My name is Gerald Moore Jr., and I'm the founder of Athletes in Cannabis. We are a self proclaimed organization that I started out just to be an advocate in the cannabis space for athletes as a former Division One All American and NFL free agent, and somebody that's been consuming cannabis well before it started to be legalized in a lot of states. I was somebody that was in the closet consumer, and typically it was for recreational purposes until I figured out that it was really medicinal. It was really helping me medicate myself. And so, as somebody that studied healthcare and understood the body, understood sports performance, health and wellness, and things at a macro scale, I really understood things too at a very personal scale. Here's a presentation that I wanted to share with you all. Thank you guys for showing support. Please, if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. I look forward to doing more content this year in 2025, having more conversations with other athletes, and sharing more information and education around health, wellness, sports performance, and things of that nature with cannabis. So, again, we do policy work. I'm in Ohio, so I've been doing a lot of advocacy work here on the behalf of my nonprofit, Green Environmental Outreach. Also, the Ohio Cannabis Coalition, and I've started other few brands, the Ohio Black Cannabis Co-op, and so really just trying to be a voice and a vessel in the community in this space as legalization takes shape and, policy begins to unfold after decades of the war on drugs. So without further ado, here's the presentation. Yeah, my name is Gerald Moore Jr. I'm the founder of Athletes Cannabis and the president of Green Environmental Outreach, also known as GO Nonprofit. So who is Gerald Moore Jr.? It's just a rundown. What is cannabis? Why do athletes medicate? Types of cannabis, the war on drugs, sports, social justice, cannabis, the known benefits of it, athletes advocating for cannabis. So I'm a husband, a father, the founder of G13 LLC, founder of Athletes in Cannabis, president of Green Environmental Outreach, a 501c3 nonprofit. I graduated from St. John's College Preparatory High School in Washington, D.C., which is a very prestigious school. I'm also an alumni from The Ohio University, the first university in the state of Ohio. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in healthcare administration. I was a scholarship athlete, an All-American, all-conference player, impact player, two-time bowl champion, two-time MAC division champion, and an NFL free agent picked up by the Oakland Raiders. So I've had tons of experience in sports, played sports most of my life. As you can see at the bottom of the screen, some of my college rings. Here's the helmet I got when I tried out for the Raiders, championship trophy. I've also been a signed model and actor, so I've done commercials, print, and TV ads. And then down in the right-hand corner is my first was the first last game on my birthday. We beat Penn State after the Joe Paterno scandal. So I've been on big time stages. All right. So why do athletes medicate? So you have pain relief, relaxation, and stress. Before cannabis or, while cannabis, a lot of athletes are prescribed pain pills, ibuprofen, Tylenol. A lot of athletes get shots, Toradol shots, cortisone shots to really help minimize the pain. And so a lot of athletes would much prefer holistic ways of medicating themselves and treating themselves, because oftentimes prescribed medications have adverse effects, right? So you might take Tylenol, and that could create a dependency, or it can create an addiction. You mix it with alcohol and it's bad things, or you mix it with another pharmaceutical and it could be a bad thing. And so when you look at it, ailments that cannabis helps with is anxiety. Athletes deal with a ton of anxiety, pressure to perform, societal pressures, pressures to still show up as a family person, husband, wife, still show up as, a son, a daughter, a community member. So there's a lot of anxiety. You have chronic pain just from wear and tear, overuse. A lot of times athletes have been playing their whole lives, so they just have constant pain. just from wear and tear on the physical strain of the sport and training. You also have cancer. A lot of people are dealing with cancers these days. That comes from environmental. That also comes from food and just lifestyle. You have epilepsy, uh, multiple sclerosis. A good friend of mine that was an elite athlete, McDonald's All-American, Jordan Classic All-American, went to Georgetown, was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And I know that he's been a huge advocate for that. Shout out to Chris Wright. Um, and so cannabis helps with that as well. With uh, uh, and we don't say cannabis cures, right? Cannabis helps in the healing process. It helps minimize some of the pain. You have Parkinson's disease. You have post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. I would also go and say post-traumatic slave syndrome, which a lot of African Americans, Black folks in America deal with. The remnants of what we're dealing with post-slavery in America. And then you have Tourette's syndrome. And then you have some of the health benefits of cannabis. It reduces inflammation and relieves pain. So somebody like myself who deals with chronic pain, arthritis in my joints, my wrists, my ankles, hips. A lot of times arthritis is caused by obviously the bone on bone, but then that also causes inflammation. So cannabis can help reduce inflammation. And also, you don't have to just consume cannabis through smoking it, right? There's ingestibles, edibles. You have concentrates. You also have topicals as well. So there are a lot of different ways to get cannabis onto or into the body without smoking it, which a lot of people obviously, still flower is still the most consumable way, most known way that people consume, but there are other alternatives. So then you have it controls nausea and vomiting caused by cancer, chemotherapy. People that struggle to eat, irritable bowel syndrome, can help kill cancer cells and slow tumor growth. Is another way that cancer or cannabis can help alleviate some of the pain. And then you have relaxed tight muscles in people with MS. Again, athletes have tight muscles as well. You're always working out, pushing heavy weight. And so sometimes when you're done working out, you need to relax. And cannabis can help you do that, help your body do that. Stimulate appetite. So people have, struggle eating. Cannabis can help you develop an appetite and want to actually eat and keep that food down. Restores body to homeostasis, which means balance. So that just means literally balancing your body out. Sometimes we can be too high or sometimes we can be too low. And cannabis really helps us find that balance and stay at homeostasis, which athletes really love because, again, you can get too high and you make a mistake. Now you're really low. And so, as human beings, right, we get excited, but it's good to stay level-headed, our bodies to stay balanced in terms of just balancing out our endocannabinoid system. Also, cannabis can help with focus. Obviously a lot of people don't think that. A lot of people think, cannabis causes you to be lazy and not move and do certain things, but cannabis can also help you focus. I'm doing this presentation and I just hit a dab. You know what I mean? So if that tells you anything. All right. What is cannabis? All right. Cannabis is known as marijuana, weed, gas, loud, the loud pack, zaza, exotic, dope, ganja. Those are just some of the street terms, some terms that have been used politically in culture. Cannabis is a psychoactive drug from the cannabis plant, native to Central and South Asia. The cannabis plant has been used as a drug for both recreational and ethnogenic purposes and in various traditional medicines for centuries. You also have hemp. So a lot of people, hear hemp and cannabis. They're pretty much cousins. They're pretty much the same thing. So in the ancient text, largely refers to this incredible, useful plant as hemp, and it's distinct between hemp and cannabis didn't come. The distinction between hemp and cannabis didn't come until about the 20th century. Today, we divide this one plant into two categories according to its use. When it's consumed for medicinal, spiritual, and recreational purposes, it's known as cannabis. When it's used for food or agricultural purposes, seeds, oil, milk, etc., or materials, clothing, rope, etc., it's called hemp. but they are the same plant. So you have types of cannabis. You have your indica, which is muscle relaxation, decreased nausea, decreased acute pain, increased muscle relaxation, and increased appetite. You have sativa. Sativas are known to be their more head high and invigorating, energizing effect that can help reduce anxiety or stress and increase creativity and focus. You also have hybrid, which is a mix between the indica sativa. Hybrids can be either indica or sativa dominant, meaning they will express the characteristics of the dominant parent with less characteristics of the secondary variety. Then you have forms of cannabis. It comes in flower, which is smoked or vaped. You have tinctures, edibles, lotions, and patches. And then obviously it goes a little bit deeper than indica, sativa, and hybrid. It's really based on terpenes. And so that's why it's really advantageous of you if you are a cannabis consumer or somebody looking at getting into cannabis to understand terpenes and what terpenes work for you, what issues and ailments you're having issues with, and finding out what terpenes work best for you. And so we're going to switch over to the war on drugs. Obviously, we haven't had these conversations really explicitly and publicly for quite some time because it's been frowned upon. The war on drugs obviously has harmed so many communities and also stifled economic progress in America and globally. So legend has it, Harry Anslinger persuaded Congress to pass the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937 within 15 minutes. By the time the doctors and pharmacists learned they were losing cannabis, one of the top tools in their pharmacopoeia, it was too late. The physicians who did confront Anslinger were met with derision and threats. The staple medicine was suddenly restricted, prohibited, and a menace to society. As Rick Simpson would tell me 80 years later, when you take away the people's most effective medicine, it is a form of genocide. Anslinger went on to cultivate this reefer madness campaign for the next 30 years of his career with the FBN and fixated on jazz musicians and communities of color. Social justice in cannabis. In 2020, an analysis by the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU, concluded that Black people are 3.64 times more likely than white people to be arrested for marijuana possession, notwithstanding comparable usage rates. Authors reported in every single state, Black people were more likely to be arrested for marijuana possession. And in some states, Black people were up to 6, 8, or almost 10 times more likely to be arrested. In 31 states, racial disparities were actually larger in 2018 than they were in 2010. And this article was found on normal.org. Social justice in cannabis and sports. 58% of NFL players are African American, 81.1% are African American. And I believe that was NBA. And so Cannabis Podcast, All the Smoke, Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes, Hotboxing, Statica. And then you have ex-NFL players and cannabis. It is estimated that 50 to 90% of NFL players consume cannabis for pain management purposes. A commission formed between the NFL and the league's players union plans to award up to $1 million in grants to researchers to investigate the therapeutic potential of marijuana, CBD, and other alternatives to opioids for treating pain. And so here we have some athletes, the infamous Hall of Famer Ricky Williams. He was a Heisman Trophy winner at Texas. Big time NFL player who's been a huge advocate in the cannabis mental health space. You have Calvin Johnson, obviously Megatron, who's a Detroit legend, Hall of Famer, who ended his career early, but he's been a huge advocate. You have Joe Montana, who's a huge advocate, obviously San Francisco 49er. You got Beast Mode, Marshawn Lynch, who's a cannabis entrepreneur. Rob Gronkowski, who also tapped his toe into, I think, the CBD space. And then you have Randy Moss, who's also come out and spoken publicly about his cannabis consumption and use. So Calvin Johnson, NFL Hall of Famer, a quote from him: "Yeah, football, Hall of Fame, that's a great legacy," Johnson said, "but I would love for my legacy to be able to create something here that goes beyond creating the quality of life for people in so many different applications. That's what I'm all about. And then you have marijuana is staying banned by the World Anti-Doping Agency announces. So the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, has officially decided to keep marijuana on the list of banned substances for international athletes following a scientific review and a determination that cannabis use violates the spirit of sport. Obviously, Sha'Carri Richardson or Sha'Carri Richardson was disqualified from World Games because of cannabis being in her system. Known benefits of cannabis: you have stress reduction. Researchers at the University of Illinois at Chicago and the University of Chicago report that low levels of THC, the main psychoactive compound in marijuana, does reduce stress. You have anxiety control. Low levels of THC help with social anxiety. CBD at all levels shows a reducing anxiety, increased focus. Cannabis helps athletes focus during prolonged training sessions. So some athletes consume cannabis I know I do. And, obviously I don't play anymore. But now when I go to work out or train or go for a walk, jog, or whatever, any type of athletic exercise, I typically consume some cannabis. And typically it's a micro dose. I'm not facing a whole blunt or a J or doing a whole dab. Typically it's a micro dose. And then you have addiction control. Cannabis helps reduce dependence on opioids for pain management and also alcohol as well. Cannabis by the numbers: 12% of Americans are active cannabis users, and that number is growing. The largest growing and fastest growing population is seniors and boomers. Nationwide, cannabis sales increased 67% in 2020. And obviously more states are coming online, legalizing cannabis. I know Ohio has legalized since 2020, recreational and adult use. Support for legal marijuana cannabis is at an all-time high of 68%, and that's probably growing as well. The U.S. cannabis industry is worth $61 billion. Ohio medical marijuana by the numbers. This is old data. It's from 2022, but as you can see, this was our medical program recommendations. I was doing this presentation to a group of college students at the University of Cincinnati. And so, athletes and advocates for cannabis. You have Kevin, and obviously you have this big, you have Stephen A. who did a big rant on stay off the weed, man. Can't you just stay off the weed? So Kevin Durant has been a huge public advocate. We want to destigmatize marijuana use among athletes. Kevin Durant is an NBA MVP, championship MVP. And then he also did a Weed Maps partnership. You have ex-NFL Heisman Trophy winner Ricky Williams. If we study the history of cannabis and the regulations and the laws, they're racially motivated, the former Pro Bowl running back says. And so understanding that, it's bullshit. Excuse my French. The football players were ever banned from using cannabis. And then you have former NBA forward Al Harrington wants to make 100 Black individuals millionaires through the cannabis business. You also have ex-NBA player Allen Iverson and Hall of Famer. And Al Harrington is the founder of Viola, which is a dispensary. Sixers legend Allen Iverson is going to have his own cannabis strain. Iverson is partnering with former NBA player Al Harrington's cannabis company, Viola, in an effort to change the stigma between athletes and cannabis. Then you have Mike Tyson, who is Tyson 2.0 cannabis brand, finalizes a $9 million Series A funding round. Here's a quote from him. What a mistake that was. I should have smoked my whole career. I should have smoked when I was fighting because it put me in a different state of mind. I'm clearly relaxed, and the more relaxed you are, the better of a fighter you are, at least in my case. Mike Tyson is a heavyweight boxing champion. Then you have Chris Webber, ex-NBA, Fab Five player from Michigan, announces a $175 million cannabis compound in Southwest Detroit. This is my biggest priority in life, Webber said. I've seen who Willis, and I've helped across the country and the lives that have been disrupted by cannabis. Hopefully, we can do a little bit by repairing. Hopefully, we can help the city. And then you have Isaiah Thomas, CEO of Ohio World Pharma. Uh, and so he's been big time advocate in the business space. You have Eugene Monroe on March 9th, 2016. He became the first active NFL player to openly advocate for the use of cannabinoids to treat chronic pain and sports related injuries. It's time for the NFL to change its archaic standards to better protect its players. For far too long, I've watched my teammates and good friends battle with opioid addiction and leave the game with a long road still ahead. It's time to make a change. And then you have gold medalist and soccer player Megan Rapinoe. I wanted a healthier, more natural option for pain management, sleep aid, relaxation while flying, and general recovery. And so that's basically a good synopsis. I'll come on here and do some more presentations, more in depth, but I really wanted to get that online. Please, if you guys appreciated that, please give it a like. Please subscribe to our page. Also, comment if you have any questions, any suggestions. You can also follow me personally on Instagram at Gerald Moore Jr. You can also follow Athletes in Cannabis on Instagram. I'm trying to get us everywhere. I also run the Ohio Cannabis Report. We do a lot of policy work here in Ohio, focused on Ohio cannabis legalization and policy work. And I am still an athlete, so I still like to train. I still like to work out. I still like to talk to athletes and educate folks. Obviously, cannabis is an interesting topic when it comes to youth. Again, I was a youth user, unbeknownst to my parents. You know what I mean? My parents weren't users. My grandfather grew cannabis. But the times that we're living in is 2025. And cannabis is something that is very important to our communities. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.